"You absolute moron," Maz roared, his violet skin flushing a deep indigo with rage. "What in the 7 moons of Xylox were you thinking?" Krell, the younger of the 2 egg brothers, cowered before his siblings' fury. Their antennae quivered in the recycled air of the spaceship's cramped control room. I thought it would be interesting," he stammered. "A specimen to study, like in the old days." Maz's compound eyes bulged. "The old days?" "The old days," he gesticulated wildly with his upper arms while his lower pair worked furiously at the ship's controls. "That was before we knew better, you fool. Before we understood what humans are capable of." "But it's just a small one," Krell protested weakly. "A young one. Surely they won't miss." "Won't miss it," Maz cut him off, incredulous. "Krell, listen to me very carefully. Humans do not give up on their young." Each word was punctuated by a jab of Maz's finger against Krell's chest carapace. "Ever." Krell's antennae drooped. "I didn't know," he mumbled. "I thought, well, other species used to take samples all the time. For science." Maz took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. "That was then, this is now. Humans fight back. They've united their entire species to protect themselves from alien interference. And their children? They're practically sacred." As if to emphasize Maz's point, a shrill alarm suddenly blared throughout the ship. Red warning lights bathed the control room in an ominous glow. "What's happening?" Krell yelped, his wings instinctively fluttering beneath their protective covers. Maz's hands flew over the controls, his eyes scanning the readouts with growing horror. "We're being pursued," he hissed. "A ship just dropped out of hyperspace right behind us. It's, by the cosmic egg, it's human." The ship rocked violently as energy weapons impacted their shields. Krell stumbled, grabbing onto a console for support. "What do we do?" he cried, panic evident in his voice. Maz's face was grim as he engaged the ship's evasive maneuvers. "We run," he said flatly, "and we pray to whatever gods you believe in that they don't catch us. Because if they do," he left the sentence unfinished, but the implication was clear. As their ship accelerated, desperately trying to outrun their pursuers, Krell huddled in the co-pilot's seat. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't know it would be like this." Maz didn't take his eyes off the controls. "Sorry isn't going to cut it, little brother," he said, his voice tight with stress. "You've doomed us both. And for what? A misguided attempt to relive the glory days of alien abduction." Another blast rocked the ship. Maz swore colorfully in 3 different alien languages. "Strap in," he ordered Krell. "This is going to get rough. And if by some miracle we survive this, we are going to have a very long talk about galactic politics and why you never, ever mess with human offspring." The stars streaked by outside as their ship pushed its engines to the limit, the human vessel in hot pursuit. Krell closed his eyes, silently cursing his own stupidity and wondering if he'd live long enough to learn from this monumental mistake. The ship's hull screamed as it tore through the atmosphere of an unknown planet. Maz's 4 hands danced across the controls, desperately trying to stabilize their descent. "We're going to crash," Krell shrieked, his exoskeleton rattling with fear. "I'm well aware," Maz snapped back. "Brace for impact." With a bone-jarring thud, their vessel plowed into a sea of golden grass. The brothers were thrown forward, their restraints barely holding them in place as the ship carved a deep furrow across the alien prairie. When they finally skidded to a stop, silence fell, broken only by the hiss of ruptured systems and the brothers' ragged breathing. Maz unbuckled himself, antennae twitching as he assessed the damage. "We need to move. Now." Krell stumbled to his feet, still dazed. But we lost them, right? We're safe." A humorless laugh escaped Maz's mandibles. "Safe? You still don't get it, do you?" He grabbed Krell by the arm, dragging him towards the emergency hatch. "Humans will never stop, not when it comes to their young." They emerged into waist-high grass that stretched to the horizon in every direction. Twin suns beat down from a lavender sky, casting double shadows across the windswept plain. A distant roar made them both look up. A sleek, predatory shape was descending through the clouds. "They followed us through the jump," Maz said, his voice tight with disbelief. "How is that even possible?" Krell's eyes widened in terror. "What do we do?" "We run." Maz shoved his younger brother forward. "And I explain exactly how badly you've ruined our lives." They took off across the grasslands, their six-legged gait eating up the distance. Behind them, the human ship touched down next to their wreckage. "Listen carefully," Maz panted as they ran. "Humans aren't like us. They don't lay thousands of eggs and hope a few survive. They have only a handful of offspring, and they protect them at all costs." Krell ducked under a patch of tall, purple-stemmed plants. "But surely they can't." "They can, and they will." Maz cut him off. "There are stories, Krell. Legends. Of humans crossing entire galaxies to retrieve a single child. Of wars started over a misunderstanding with a human youngling." A sound like thunder rolled across the prairie. Krell risked a glance back and saw hovering vehicles emerging from the human ship. "They're relentless," Maz continued, urging them to greater speed. "They'll chase us across worlds, across star systems. There is nowhere in this universe we can hide that they won't eventually find us." Krell's lungs burned as he struggled to keep pace with his brother. "I didn't know," he gasped. "I swear I didn't know." Maz's compound eyes reflected a mix of fury and resignation. "And that ignorance may have doomed us both, along with whoever else gets caught in their warpath." The thunder grew louder. The humans were gaining on them. "What happens if they catch us?" Krell asked, dreading the answer. Maz's mandibles clicked grimly. "We pray for a quick death. Because the alternative," he shuddered. "Let's just say humans can be terrifyingly creative when it comes to protecting their young." As they crested a small hill, Maz suddenly pulled Krell down into a shallow depression. They huddled there, hearts racing, as the human vehicles roared overhead. "We can't outrun them forever," Maz whispered. Krell's antennae drooped in despair. "What have I done?" he moaned. Maz's reply was drowned out by the sound of engines. They looked up to see they were surrounded, human figures in gleaming armor training weapons on their prone forms. "Game over," Maz muttered, slowly raising his hands in surrender. The prairie grass whispered in the alien breeze as Maz and Krell found themselves encircled by human soldiers. The brothers' antennae twitched nervously, picking up the acrid scent of weapon discharge and the unfamiliar pheromones of barely contained human rage. A figure stepped forward, their armor more elaborate than the others. The faceplate retracted, revealing piercing eyes set in a face etched with determination and barely contained fury. "Where is the child?" The human's voice was cold, controlled, but with an undercurrent of promised violence. Maz and Krell exchanged a panicked glance. The elder brother cleared his throat, adopting what he hoped was a placating tone. "There's been a terrible misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding," the human leader cut him off. "Our scans detected a human life sign on your vessel before you crashed. I'll ask one more time, where is the child?" Krell trembled, his exoskeleton clicking softly. Maz shot him a warning look, silently pleading with his younger sibling to stay quiet. Maz began, his mind racing. "We don't." A high-pitched wail cut through the tense standoff. All eyes turned to the crashed ship in the distance. A small figure emerged, stumbling through the grass, unmistakably a human child. The leader's expression softened for a brief moment before hardening once more. They turned back to the alien brothers, voice laden with quiet menace. "One of you took that child from their family. One of you thought you could steal a human youngling and face no consequences." Maz felt his heart sink. There was no talking their way out of this now. "Tell me," the human continued, "which one of you is responsible? Who made the decision to abduct one of our children?" Silence stretched across the prairie. Maz glanced at Krell, saw the terror in his younger brother's eyes. Despite everything, despite the monumental stupidity that had led them here, Maz couldn't bring himself to condemn his sibling. Krell, for his part, was paralyzed. The weight of his actions, the gravity of what he'd done, rendered him mute. The human leader's patience visibly frayed. "I won't ask again. Who took the child?" Maz straightened, all four of his arms raised in a universal gesture of surrender. He began, then faltered. There was no way out, no clever explanation that could save them. In that moment of hesitation, the humans saw all they needed to see. Without another word, they raised their weapon. Two sharp cracks split the air. Maz felt a searing pain, then nothing at all. As consciousness faded, his last thought was a bitter reflection on the cosmic unfairness of it all. They'd traveled the stars, seen wonders beyond imagination, only to meet their end on a nameless prairie world, felled by a species they'd grievously underestimated. The human leader watched dispassionately as the two alien bodies crumpled to the ground. They turned to their team: secure the child, prep the bodies for analysis, and send word to command the message needs to be clear. As the soldiers moved to carry out their orders, the leader gazed across the windswept grasslands. Their voice was quiet, but carried to every ear. "The galaxy needs to learn. You don't take our children, ever." The twin suns began to set, casting long shadows across the prairie. Soon, there would be no trace that the alien brothers had ever been there at all, just another cautionary tale in the vast, uncaring cosmos. A stark reminder to all species: never, ever kidnap a human child. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope you loved it. Please remember to subscribe if you did like it so you can see more videos like this. And please give us a like and a comment too. I'll see you in the next one.